There we go. Okay.
Now she takes orders
I
from
know.
Venezuela. My goodness.
Okay, we're gonna have to tape that voice. It actually wasn't bad. Okay. Wednesday afternoon meeting. I think the first order of business, you have a bid opening, is what's on my list.
Yes, this is Kelly Dombrowski, Clerk of the Board. We have a bid opening this afternoon for 28 100 feet by 200 feet scrim reinforced polyethylene geomembranes.
How do you say that again?
We have 2 bids that were submitted. We have a bid from Defensor LLC. Their total cost to the county is $120,382.76. This last bid. This bid has been submitted by Northwest Linings and Geotextile Products Incorporated. Their total bid is $118,299.57. And that is the end of the bid openings.
Okay,
But as long as you're going to give me grief, you do know the difference between ethylene and ethane, right?
sure.
There's a single bond between 2 carbon atoms. If it were methane, there'd only be a single carbon atom.
It was just right on the tip of my tongue.
Oh, okay, I just,
Go ahead, Mike.
Mike Moss, Public Services Director. This time, we'd like to request an executive session for potential litigation for approximately, we'll start with 20 minutes.
20 minutes?
Yes.
Okay, so we'll adjourn to executive session, potential litigation, and we're looking at initially 20 minutes.
And we have Doug coming online or? Okay.
The board is extending the executive session for a period of 5 minutes until 1:58.
Okay, back from executive session. No decisions were made. We'll move on with the agenda of Public Works.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Susan Eugenius, County Engineer. So I have all kinds of crazy items today. So the first item we have on the agenda is County Road Administration Board applications. So the applications just closed for the rural arterial program. We have submitted 2 projects, one for Coal Creek Road to cover the additional dollars that we have STP that we can use as match. And so that project goes from 1.44 to 2, milepost 1.44 for 2. And with this project application breaks down the cost of dollars that we're requesting, dollars we're receiving for others, and what the project purpose is, and that's to fix the vertical curves, horizontal curves, reconstruct the shoulders, and add our biking area, replace guardrail as needed, and remove any other items in the clear zone. In order to complete, excuse me, this application, it needs to be approved by the board and submitted for signature. So I am requesting that if you guys are good with this project submittal, you approve Commissioner Dahl to sign this electronically. The contract would come out sometime next year if the project is selected.
So we discussed this about a month ago, I think.
Yes.
In workshop or at the main meeting.
So we did at the main meeting because we were obligating the federal funding. So we currently have about $1 million of federal funding. This is requesting $1 million of state funding, and then it would be about $500,000 of local funding. So we've secured the federal funding, and this is the process to secure the state.
And you were planning to do the state request when we talked about it before.
Yes, I was planning on doing this. That was our thought process when we applied for the state. I mean, the federal, because the state process is generally more predictable than the federal process.
So our decision earlier is not sufficient to go forward? I mean, I didn't realize there were all these different pots that we had to make separate applications to, but if we were good with it a month ago, why is that not sufficient, I guess?
I didn't look at it that way. I just was told, in my brain, I'm like, okay, the next process is to get
Next
the
step.
board to agree to the application. So,
I mean, as long as we know it's coming from different pots of money, and I knew, I think I remember thinking there were two pots of money, but you introduced a third one. Letting us know the pots of money and then making one decision is going to shorten up the time for getting the money and getting the project going, right? I mean,
And that'll include the engineering change, or you cut the lanes down in size to make an extra wide bicycle lane, right?
normal size lanes, normal size bicycle lanes.
Well, okay.
And we have a second application to CRAB for out on PH 10 for the culvert replacement. That is at milepost 3.23 and 3.27. This is a new application that I haven't talked to you about. It is on our 6-year plan. This culvert annually plugs, and it is extremely deep. So, and it is not a fish passage, so it does not qualify in that pot of money, but it will qualify for CRAB money because it is a vital part of the road system. We are requesting just over $500,000 of RADA amount, and there would be about $250,000 from the rural for the road fund.
just out of curiosity, what intersection is that close to the cross streets?
It's milepost 3.24. Is that out by Ida? I believe this is the one by Ida Lane, and it's about a 20-foot deep embankment in that area. So it's hard for us to clean in addition to it plugging and backing up that amount of water.
This is your first request for this one?
This is our first request for this one.
No other sources needed?
No, there would be no other sources. Just local money.
So with all the fish passage barriers around, and this one isn't one, what puts this one up at priority?
This one becomes a maintenance issue. We are out there on an emergency basis every year. First big rain brings a lot of debris down the canyon. It blocks us up. It's a 20-foot embankment. It's hard for us to clear it.
The canyon being Growler's Gulch? Or is that a different?
That is a different, this is an unnamed tributary to Arkansas Creek, but it is in the Growler Gulch area.
I think that's just a great name, Growler's Gulch.
Yes.
Yeah.
The people who live out there tend to be grouchy too, I've noticed.
I won't comment on that.
I better be careful, I get in trouble.
You might not get
Oh,
elected
Larry.
again.
You know Larry lives out
I
there.
know, I know. We used to get Christmas trees.
Too
from
bad
his
he
lot.
isn't here to hear that.
No, he'd appreciate it. No, we enjoyed his Christmas tree lot when our twins were
When they were-
toddlers, and it
yeah.
was a great experience, and just had a great time.
You're just saying, we're okay with you.
Pushing them
pushing
through.
it through,
Yes.
sure,
And it'll come to you also for signature.
electronically.
Yes.
So I'm If you need a motion, I move we authorize the chairman to sign the applications to CRAB for both of those projects. And any other sources of funds you want to come up with.
Perfect.
Is that okay?
Yep.
Okay. So we have a motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 You didn't have to vote aye, you know.
Aye.
So my next item is the continuation of the South Cloverdale Project Madness. So about a month ago, 3-4 weeks ago, we came to the board to get the local federal aid project prospectus and supplement signed. And we had been working with WashDOT and we thought we had all the changes made. Well, last night I got your dollar amount is off by 20,000. You need to get the board to re-sign it and bring it to me by Friday. So I have brought the updated paperwork in the hopes that I can get a nice wet signature from Commissioner Dahl so we can get it back to the state.
It's always nice to hear that we don't have to spend an extra 20,000. It was that way, right?
No, it's never that way.
In the other direction.
It's in the other direction. It adds 20,000 back to what we need to pay, unfortunately.
And this doesn't include engineering for that bike trail going underneath the freeway.
No,
Or
this
over the
does
freeway.
not.
You know-
That wasn't even on the list of projects approved at the Regional Transportation Planning Board meeting I went to this morning.
You know what we should include in the RTOP then is a zip line for bicycles. It's a one-way, but that's okay. Well, no, they could put a motor.
I have a different plan because I still want to use explosives in a project before I retire. I think we should take South Cloverdale and extend it all the way down to Old Pacific and either bore a nice tunnel in that area that slides or just blow it up and just right through.
While you're playing with explosions, I got a river redirection.
Yeah. All engineers have a strange project they want to work on before it, and mine is explosives. Somehow I'm thinking I'll be more likely to blow up a bridge, but
We're showing the airport manager that there's a lot of versatility on the board.
I'll tell this story on Darren from the Conservation District. We were out looking at the Eddie there. He talked about a project he had put in, and then the project he had put in that he was going to use explosives to do this, and they signed off on it and sent it back. And so then he calls him up and he says, "You really going to let me do explosives?" I wouldn't even have called him. I'd have just blown it up. And of course, they said, "Oh, no, we missed that."
That's forgiveness later, right?
Yeah, right. Okay,
so my next is a discussion item because we have had issues with bid openings for federal aid projects. So the last bid opening we did, and it was nothing that we did. It was something that we did not realize, we as in Public Works. So when you have a federal aid project, there's always the disadvantaged business enterprise requirement. And the way the bidding documents that they require you to put together read that within 48 hours, and it's very specific, 48 hours of the bid, these additional documents have to be returned to the location and date and time of where it was opened. So when we open Eric Creek, I believe is when we discovered this, we opened them at Wednesdays at 1:30 because that was going to be a good convenient time for all of us. But then that sets the 48 hours at Friday at 1:30 when this office is not open. And it's a court, we've talked to the state about this. It's a court determination that it's 48 hours and it does not take into account non-working days. So we can't extend that to Monday at the same time. So I wanted to have a discussion of when we would like, and we'd only switch our federal aid projects to this date, we would like to open them. We'd like to shift that to Monday at 11, so at the end of our project review, or 10, Mike wrote down 10, the start of our project review, because then that would make them do Wednesday, which is normally a working day. So that it was our recommendation, so that we could stay up with the government, and we wanted to bring it to you if you guys were good with that for just federal aid. We keep our other projects at this 1:30 time.
Yeah.
Well, you know, we do have somebody in the office Friday mornings,
Well, do you?
our office, yeah. So there is a possibility to get around that, but it's probably much cleaner this way. I mean, we're meeting with you at 10 o'clock on Mondays anyway, so.
I think you and I should say no on this one so that.
No, Eric Creek has been on the list for so long. It has to be done. I knew it was on the list when I came, so and that was, seems like
Forever.
forever.
Yes,
Well, some days it seems like forever, but
yes.
not every day.
I'm gonna miss these guys, I think. Yeah, I don't think we have a problem with that, right? Yeah.
I'm okay with that as long as it always includes a discussion of a bike lane.
Okay, I will discuss bike lanes no matter what we're opening.
Well, actually, I prefer the change starting in January.
This crowd's getting rough in here.
It is. Wait till you see how we treat the airport.
Oh, boy. Sorry, I tried to soften them up for you.
Sometimes things don't work out.
Yeah. So then the last Public Works item I have is wanted to bring forward for your blessing before we made the final yes, go ahead. So I don't remember if you recall, we talked about cutting back a lot of roads this year on striping. We found out that we cut some roads that we really shouldn't have cut. So we're looking at a possible change order in the area of 50,000, us adding additional roadways to the project, and just wanted your approval before we went ahead and did that. And then we would bring the final amount as a change order.
And your ending fund balance is still around the $6 million level, isn't it?
Oh, it'll be more.
60%, not anymore?
It'll be more than adequate to
I
cover
was gonna
this,
say,
yes.
I think we're
Yeah.
in good shape on that.
Yeah,
It's not
so,
a deal killer.
And the striping crew's coming back. They finished their local area on Tuesday, but they're coming back to the city of Kalama
Mhm.
on Sunday. So if we get the blessing to move forward, we would add our roads to the list for Sunday while they're in the local area, and then come back with a change order.
Yeah, if you guys think it's necessary,
Yeah.
I'm fine with that. I mean, you travel some of those, it's not so bad in summer, but when I go home sometimes and it's raining and dark, some of
Correct.
that stuff is hard to see.
Yeah.
So I think it needs to be.
It says more.
And which road is that again?
Yeah, the way I look at this in general is that this doesn't beget other problems, it avoids other problems. So
Yeah.
So the project of striping was also the subject of a potential change in Cowlitz County processes
Correct.
to bring it in-house, right?
Correct.
Is
yes.
are we still on schedule to do that, or is this new company?
We are during the
Approving.
budget cycle. We're still looking at numbers, looking at different types of equipment, getting pricing on that. We're working with local west of the Cascade counties to see what they're doing, what type of equipment they're using. Actually bringing hopefully Lewis County in the next week to look at their equipment, maybe do a test run on a couple of these roads with our team to see how it operates before we come to you guys with, make sure we get all the information, because it's quite a purchase. I mean, you're looking at close to $800,000 probably just for the equipment, and hundreds of thousands of dollars a year in paint and beads. So we gotta make sure we have it all in order, make sure we feel comfortable as a staff doing it in-house.
so when you're thinking of the staff, they would be going full bore for 5 months out of the year at most?
Yeah, this would be a challenge. And that's what we're considering because you have chip seal season and then that's done. That's when we usually start our striping season behind that. When overlay is also done, where we'd probably have to start earlier in the year on certain roads that were not chip sealing. When we got good weather in maybe May and June and knock out some of these roads ahead of time. Because we try to get done in the middle of August to give some of the workers some time off before school gets in session. Plus, we want to be done with most of our striping before school buses start running routes. So our window of operation is pretty challenging to get done before Labor Day. So
So you're thinking of adding how many on staff for doing this? Just,
we might be, yeah, we're not looking at actually increasing staff size at this point. Maybe more summer help or seasonal help during striping to help with buffer trucks to keep the paint off vehicles.
yeah, okay.
Yep.
I like that.
Sounds good.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, so we'll have a much more deeper discussion with numbers and facts and figures. And whenever that, I think it's October is the equipment meeting.
So I have another question though, Mike. It's more, I think, building and facilities and maintenance. Somebody's digging holes out on the road right next here. I'm assuming they're on contract with the city of Kelso. Are you aware of what the kind of improvements are? They've dug a bunch of holes, small holes, and then filled it up with asphalt. And now they're digging a big, deep hole under the concrete.
Right next,
Yeah,
over here?
Right.
Yeah,
over
I saw
here.
them over there today. I know they were working on I think the sewer lines on grade in different places, but today I did see equipment over here crosses away from the employee parking lot, but I have no idea what they're doing. I can swing by and find out.
My interest is in, are they going to be repaving? And is that something we can talk them into to make it all smooth?
Correct.
And is that something we can do as part of an agreement with them?
Well, yeah, I know our team has been talking about trying, when we do redo this north lot next summer, or we'd like to work with the city of Kelso and have, I think Dan Bales has reached out to them to figure out what their game plan is because half of this area up here is a city street.
Mhm.
And so we don't want to make our improvements without their improvements. But yeah, if they're doing something out there, they may have a plan to overlay that when they're done and we could work with them at the same point.
But you haven't investigated that yet?
No, Dan has, but he just got back from his
Okay.
absence from medical purposes that we've talked about. So he's getting back in the flow and we'll start those discussions again with the city of Kelso.
So I joined the county commission in January of 2013. In February, there was a nice letter to the editor from a young man in Longview who pointed out that as soon as I took office, the city of Kelso filled a big pothole in that street. And he said, "Thank you, Commissioner Weber." It's like I hadn't done anything. It was just one of those weird things. But the potholes in that street have been constant.
Yeah.
So there's something underneath that's just not, the gravel or the drainage or whatever it is, it's just constantly
Or they haven't
one after another.
Yeah.
And
or fixed it correctly or grinding down far enough to get below the issue. Yeah, it could be a couple different options there, reasons.
so there's another interest for us because around about January 1st, we have a law firm moving in across the street. And there's going to be a heck of a lot more cars.
Yeah.
Demand for parking Close.
Correct.
on that parking lot.
So we reached out to the church across the street. They also have a lot north, directly across from Wazoo campus. And
Oh, yeah, right here.
And they've gave us approval to move forward with the agreement to use that parking lot, which will be directly across from OPD, as long as we help maintain that lot. So we're giving the paperwork together with the church.
That's the lot over there,
Across the street.
Yeah,
Yeah.
correct.
across the street.
Across
and
the street.
Up toward,
Cowles Way.
thank you.
That Cal's.
Corner of Couch Way, yes. Yep.
So we have one church lot that we're already doing that with,
Yeah.
lower down over there.
Yeah,
And
same
then there's a
block. or
Church, and
same-
then the next
Same
lot
block,
over.
up. The next block up, correct, yes.
Great, okay.
I've
Thank you.
never known what constraints are there when we use the KCA lot here just immediately across the street?
Restraints as in time or,
What keeps every employee here from parking there and not giving them any parking?
They do. They all do. They do park over there.
yeah, I don't know. I haven't really looked at an agreement to see if there's like so many spots or if it's just first come, first serve, or I know there's
I know
certain
every
days.
once in a while, there'll be there'll be a memorial service at the Methodist Church, the Methodist Presbyterian Church, and there'll be signs out. But I haven't seen that for an awful long time, so. So I think there are some temporary restrictions as on a needed basis.
Yeah, I'll
but-
look into that. I have no idea how, we had to pull that one anyway because that's probably the same template we're going to use for that north lot. for
Oh,
the-
okay,
for-
so you'll be doing it anyhow.
Yeah. Correct.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Since I got you and we have a couple minutes and it comes to mind, have we been able to improve the lighting on museum? And is it, if we have we noticed any difference?
I hate to say it out loud, but yeah, we haven't had one call about issues at the museum since
Yeah,
the lighting's been in place.
okay.
And maybe, I'll talk to
Just
Joseph,
teased
maybe,
you, didn't I? Yeah.
maybe Joseph's take care of a few of the smaller ones in-house and we haven't heard about them, but I haven't got the phone calls or
But
the,
he could probably tell us if the problem has gone down at the museum. Not as much, not as bad as it used to be. That's good.
I
Makes-
think in the middle of the afternoon, just to the north of the museum, on the same side of the street as the museum, there was a homeless guy sleeping away. That's the first time I'd seen him there,
Yeah.
so.
we talked about removing some of the shrubbery and vines and cutting back some of the trees on the
Yeah.
north and west side of that lot. It's challenging for the light to get through, but also, you know, if your employees are going to use that all for parking at this location, walking down in the evening or early morning, and we want to clear that up a little bit.
Well, it sounds like it's been a little bit of positive, at least in the short run here.
Correct.
so,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Did you want me to sign? Yes, please. Because I got a couple minutes before 2:30 here.
Are we getting the landscaping done with the
Okay, we're back for 2 Thursday. We're pleased to have with us the South Washington Regional Airport. And I think, I don't know what's on the agenda, but just to kind of tell us where we're at with the airport. As I said yesterday, when I tried to get people to come to this, I'm big fan of our regional airport, so we're glad to have you here.
So Craig, it sounds like you weren't expecting such an august hearing? You were or were not? Sorry. Oh, okay. I think you have the floor.
Just, there's a button that will turn on a green light on that microphone. I think it's down towards the bottom of the, there you go.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you for having me, commissioners. I'm here today to present the proposed SWRA budget for 2025. My name is Craig. I recently have taken over as the airport manager over there in Kelso. And I don't know if you guys have copies of the budget. I sent them over to make this schedule, but a few things of note for the 2025 budget is that it's projected to be $1.76 million less than the 2024 budget due to the fact that there's no large FAA projects going to be executed in 2025. And most of the line item amounts that have been carried over from the 2024 budget, the changes of note I will be going through this afternoon. On the expenditures page that is shown right above is line item 11, part-time worker. There's no increase in spending. We have a job opening submitted right now for a part-time maintenance worker to assist in the time that it takes to mow the fields, repair the hangars and fences and things of that nature. $30,000 has been moved over from the city professional services line item 12. So there's no increase in cost for that. Expenditures line item 28, large purchases. I have budgeted in for a PTO driven blower to be towed behind the new tractor that we received this year and helps to help blow the FOD and the snow off of the field year-round if necessary. I had that idea a couple of months ago when some Army helicopters came down to do some fast rope training in the middle of the night, and they blew grass all over the runway. And it took 3 people from PWC and myself a little over 2 hours to blow off 1/3 of the airfield using backpack blowers. So in the interest of saving time and money, a PTO-driven blower for that tractor would greatly decrease the amount of time that we expend out there on the airfield. And finally, an awning for the office right off Hangar Row A. We're doing a really good job of cleaning the airport up, making it look more professional. The FBO has put a lot of time and effort into making their building presentable, and just want to carry on with making it a more inviting place and for people to know what office I actually work out of. Expenditure line 31 is a funding match for the taxiway and ramp and apron repair project that we have going in May and June of 2025. Recently, I have gone through Kelso City Council to get resolution passed to guarantee that match. We've also put in applications for 2 federal grants, one AIP, and the second is, that's the Airport Improvement Program. And the second one is the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law, BIL. And the third one that we'll be submitting after the first of the year will be a WashDOT Aviation Grant. And that is, and I will address those more here in just a minute. Line 32, yes, 31 is the local match, and line 32 is the grants.
The unfortunate thing is we don't see line numbers.
Oh, okay, I apologize. Yeah, the line, I see the line item is cut off there. So for, I'll say line item 28, it's 3 lines above the yellow, says large purchases. That was budgeted $180,000 for 2024 for the new tractor, tow behind mower deck, and an airport truck maintenance vehicle. As of right this minute, $126,000 has been spent, which is the balance for the tractor itself and the mower deck. And next year, I've budgeted in only $15,000 for large purchases, which would cover the PTO-driven blower and the awning.
Did you include the truck in there?
The truck was from 2024, sir. Fuel storage, the next line item down, line item 29, fuel storage tanks. Just wanted to give you guys an update on that. I don't know if you have very much information or knowledge of what's that project. The new tanks and system has been installed and it's been fully operational for quite some time, and it's very effective. Turnaround time for refueling aircraft is minimal. 2 weeks ago, they came through and filled the old tanks, torn down the brick building that used to have the hose reels in there. The only two items that remain for that project are the light pole that goes out in front between the new tanks, above ground tanks. And there was some slight contamination in the soil around the hose reel area for the old system. So they're gonna come back relatively soon to dig that out, clear it out, and then backfill it.
So is that the 3K that's in 25 then?
No, the 3K in 25 is license renewal and type inspections that come down for the new tanks and the new system.
Actually, if you drive by the airport, you can see the tanks easily, and they're actually a thing of beauty if you can. They've got access onto the field, don't they, if they go through the FBO?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, you walk in and then you
Yeah,
can walk there. It's,
I know where they were gonna put them, and I think it was a much needed upgrade.
it's an elaborately
Yeah.
well-done piece, and there's where 500,000 of your dollars went.
So the 15 grand is what you anticipate, maybe the cleaning up the contaminated soils on the large purchase, or did I get?
No,
that wrong?
sir. The cleaning up of the soil is still in the 2024 budget under the line item for the fuel tanks, the storage tanks project.
Oh,
We're not finished
Okay.
with that one yet. We haven't closed it out, so I'm still charging to that 2024 line item. It won't be a line item for 2025. The first yellow line that you see is line item 31, which is the local match for the FAA project in 2025. And that's the taxiway repair, the ramp, and the apron out in front of the FBO. A small portion of that 180 will be covered by a WashDOT aviation grant. The next line item down in yellow is the FAA ramp apron rehabilitation project. That's 650,000. And that cost will be split between the two federal grants that we've already applied for, the AIP and the BIL grants. The third yellow line down there, I wanted to speak on runway, because I know a lot of people have been asking about new runway. With the extended time requirements that NIPS has put on us for environmental studies and such for airports, it has pushed that project out to 2028 or 2030. When I found that out about 2 weeks ago, I was on a Teams meeting with the FAA and Century West, and made the suggestion that we bifurcate the project into smaller pieces to enable us to be able to keep this airport open. And they agreed. So right now we're in the midst of designing a plan to get all new lighting systems down there, PAPI, lighted windsocks, signage, paint striping, and most importantly, crack and crack repair. And that we're working to get completed in 2026, which will give us the longevity to reach out to 2028 or 2030 for the airport or runway to be torn out and replaced. Moving on to revenue, which is the next page.
Before we go on, the FFA runway is the one that will be long enough so that we can handle the next size up, the jets, small business jets, right?
Yes, sir.
That's been the promise
Oh.
for 20 years. About, we're on the verge of getting this great big huge grant from the FFA, and it's been probably a classic case in how the bureaucracy can just take forever to make decisions.
Yes, sir. This particular project is not designed to lengthen our runway. It is to align our airport with new FAA requirements and put us in compliance with the width of the airport for the classification of airport that we are. Currently, our airstrip is 100 feet wide, and we only qualify for one that's 75 feet wide. So when they come through to repave our runway, they're only going to go out to 75 feet. And the major reason that we're limited on the size and the width of our airfield is because of the location of the BNSF railway, the river, and the existing hangars that we're wedged between. We're looking into what it would take to extend the runway to the south, but there are a lot of property owners down there that we would have to acquire the property in order to have a safe runway exclusion zone at the end.
And to the north, the exclusion zone is made more awkward because of the
Homes.
of the bridge going over to the golf course.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, the
I
the
could
new
see
bridge,
as you
yeah.
come in, yeah,
that's right.
yeah, I could understand that.
Yeah, and the Hazel Bridge project is actually something that the airport is involved in too. Because that loop that's gonna come around is currently or used to be South Third. Those are two pieces of property that were purchased with help from the FAA, and we have to get their permission to push that street through.
Gotcha.
So I've been in on some of those meetings as well. Most of the real estate that we'd be looking to possibly extend the runway out would only be able to come from the south.
So could you repeat what the tie-ups would be going to the south? What milestones would need to be accomplished?
There's several private property or in business properties down there that would have to be acquired in order for us to be able to stay within compliance for the FAA and keep the runway protection zone at the end clear. And that's the bottom line right there, is the properties that are close to the edge right now. If we were to push the runway down further, they would be inside the area that needs to be ground level.
I don't recall there being much. Is there much stuff down there in the south? I'm just trying to get a sense for, like if the Empire State Building were there, you'd know that you probably aren't going to be able to displace them.
Well, as of right now, most of them are small businesses, industrial type businesses. Watkins Farm and Garden, the tractor store down there, or the tractor storage lot. There's a couple other businesses that are just a little bit further north on that street. And all of them really encroach into the property, that south end of the property for the airport. It's, if you think about it, where the old Tollycraft is, it's the same thing. We can't push any more forward that way because of that particular piece of real estate.
So we have the property to extend the runway to what we want it to be, but we don't have the property that would create the buffer zone we need before you get to it.
Yes, sir.
Got it. What would a longer runway do for us? Do you know? or-
What we were told was that there are some businesses that use jets. They can land because they're out of fuel, but if they fuel up, the runway's not long enough for them.
They
to
take a little
off.
more room
So they
to,
can get in and they have hard, then they have to, they can't fully fuel up and take off.
So I think you're asking what kind of plane or what would be the business that would require a plane that would be hampered by a shorter runway?
yeah, are we losing something because we don't have
Yeah.
that or?
I
I
don't know
don't-
the answer to that. I know down in San Diego, they've got the main airport, but then you go to Carlsbad and there's an airport there. I used to fly out of there to go to San Jose rather than drive all the way down to San Diego. And the distance is about the same between this airport and
Yeah,
and
because when I hear
PDX.
those type of things and it starts calculating, it says, does the economic benefit of buying that pay off from people coming in? But you'd have to know somebody was gonna, you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, exact computation and needs a little bit of a crystal ball.
When we had public hearings way back 12 years ago and getting more deeply involved. Actually, it was when I was still on the city council, that was how long we've been working on this. There were some businessmen who said, you know, we're hampered. We're limited in our ability to get to branch offices around. US Cellular, I think, was one of the customers that has a lot of businesses elsewhere. And
Gotcha.
you know, they just are restricted in the kind of equipment that they could use. And they were advocating at the time for a longer runway so that they could do the next step up.
Okay.
But
Do you know if
again,
it's
at the
ever
same
been
time,
explored? Dennis?
it was tough because back in 2008, 2009, when we were having these hearings, we were in the midst of a recession. There was virtually no business going on. And that didn't pick up until around 14 or so, and 15. By the time you joined, it was up, pretty upbeat.
There was some causality in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's taken a lot longer than we expected, that's for sure.
It always makes me wonder if it should be explored because I don't, just
My-
trying to look down through the future.
Well, what I remember, and they were trying to talk the city of Longview into joining with the expenses, which we eventually did. But what we were told was that the state of Washington had designated this as a regional airport. And they were very supportive of doing the next step because there wasn't another airport our size that served that market. But then the business didn't follow
Yeah.
to go. It's just taken so much longer.
I think your instincts are in line with mine. That it should be done. Is this the right time? Probably not, but it's never going to be the right time if
Never
it's
gonna
not
be the
on your
right
drawing
time.
boards.
Yeah.
And
So,
it may take a heavy hand at some point. Part of it, I think, for the local sort of the corporate traffic, we can handle adequate jets and turboprops that come here for the small planes, right?
Yes, sir.
So we're just talking now as the business becomes something a little more significant, like we see the huge warehouse that is just built not
Right.
far. What if that required air transport? Now you're talking about the larger jets.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what is on my mind. And then, yeah,
it was interesting. One of the allures of expanding the airport was that the FAA would pay 90% and the state would kick in another 5%. So the local match would only be 5%. And we'd get this great big runway. The first manager that we hired had experience managing big airports. And he had an interesting personality, which it turned out irritated the FFA officials in Seattle. And we lost about 5 years of progress because of tough, he was telling them what to do. And that's,
Yeah.
he didn't have the kind of negotiating skills to deal with the bureaucrats and it's been an interesting story. So your predecessor I was on the committee for hiring him, and he was a godsend. He did some major improvements and
Well, I'm still working off of
potential is
his
still there,
momentum.
and it's great to
Yeah,
get the job finished.
It just, when I look at the benefits to our county and bringing people in, the airport is certainly one of the benefits that a lot of places don't have the ability to have. So I'd hate to see it, because we're not forward enough, hate to see it become a stumbling block to bringing somebody in, you know what I'm saying? And I don't know where that magic year or number is, but it just seems it shouldn't be forgotten.
We had a proposal from a helicopter company. You've been dealing with helicopters this last week. A helicopter company was in Oregon, and their particular specialty was equipping helicopters with firefighting equipment. Okay. And they thought this would be an ideal location because of the forests in the certain area. And they said, but there are certain business taxes in Washington state that make it cost prohibitive for us to move. If we could just get the tax break that Boeing gets from Washington state, get the same rate reduction, we'd move here and you'd have, and they said, if I remember correctly, 70 full-time employees making $70,000 a year plus. And that was, 10, 15 years ago. And so we did a lobbying effort to get the legislature to change the language that referred to fixed wing aircraft. We wanted fixed or rotary wing aircraft. And the chairman of the House Ways and Means Committee was a man by the name of Reuben Carlisle. And his district was was a Boeing manufacturing facility. And he would not give us the time of day. We're not touching that law. No way. You forget about it. So we lost that business. They stayed in Oregon. Now, I don't know if they've ever come back around and inquired, but it was a lost opportunity because imagine having a helicopter manufacturing company on your grounds. That would have been fantastic.
It would have alleviated a lot of ramp space that was taking up for maintenance vehicles and fuel trucks this week.
I'm sure it would have been.
This is totally off, but I took a ride yesterday afternoon, and sometimes I'll go out Vader the back road and you take that PL McDonald Road.
Yeah.
And I going up there and all of a sudden I see signs for truck traffic. You look out and they have the Huckleberry Fire, the camp for
Wow.
everybody out in there, all these tents and stuff. It was kind of impressive to see, actually.
Did you know there was a Huckleberry Ridge? I hadn't heard that term before.
I hadn't heard it before. I do now.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm sorry we kind of took you down a rabbit hole here, but
It's your council, sir.
yeah.
So I think your presentation is to kind of convince us to accept, renew our obligation to fork over some money for the operation of the airport.
Well, thankfully, sir, I'm not here to ask for more money from you.
Well, additional, just do it again next year.
It's already been approved for the next 20. I'm just riding that train. I'm just here asking to get your blessing on this budget that I've created for 2025 and just highlight some of the things that are of great interest to everyone in the community. I can go over the couple of high points on the revenue page now.
Okay.
Line item 13, it doesn't show up on yours, the line item number, but it's the fourth one up from the yellow line. It says hangar leases. The revenue next year will be just slightly higher than this year due to an annual 3% increase in CPI. And the same is true for land leases. Line item 18, which is,
Question for you on those, because I think in talking to the previous manager, I think those are 100% rented out, right?
yes, sir, they are.
And we do or we do not have space to put any,
I have some space down there to put some.
more hangars in?
Yes, sir. I have got three groups that are actively going through the process to build more hangars down there.
All right,
I've got one row of T hangars, which is the long, thin ones.
yeah,
I've got a gentleman that's interested in building a new executive hangar on the southern end, right behind the new big hangar that's down there. And then another gentleman that's looking into tearing down the three oldest wooden hangars that we have in the very northwest corner,
right,
leveling those and putting an executive hangar in that spot as well.
cool, okay,
There are a couple more, it would take a little bit more land development to make it happen. I've got a couple of spots that are open to the southeast, and then another pretty good pasture just on the other side of that apron ramp area from Life Flight, right next to the old Tollycraft facility.
okay,
And that's really all that I have left.
all right. Thank you.
18. Line item 18 is again, the $650,000 grants that are coming from the FAA, the AIP and the BIL grants, which is the middle yellow line. And then line item 20, which is the top green one, is the ramp rehabilitation project. That is the WashDOT Aviation 5% match that you were speaking of earlier for the project that we have going in May and June of next year. And that project has been contract awarded, and we expect it to start development in May and June of next year when the weather is clear. And we're not quite into fire season yet, because that's the exact areas of where we need to have access to the FBO and the ramps and things like that. And if you have any other further questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
So the county grant, if I remember correctly, that was the rural economic development grants. We
Okay,
have money coming in every year, and that was designated, probably about 5 years ago. Pretty big grant over a number of years to help bring in the new fuel tanks.
Yeah, maybe 3 years ago.
Could be, yeah, something like that.
We have a 20-year CARB loan for the fuel tank. And that one is actually, will be finished in 2042.
Yeah, briefly, do you recall I'm actually fairly sure you recall what the total cost of the fuel tank project is? It was 1.5-ish?
Yes, sir. The CARB loan itself was for 1.2 million, and the other 300,000 was picked up by the entities and the airport and some smaller grants from other sources as well. 1.5.
And in one of the arguments, and it may be too early to get the data on it, was in keeping with if we look like the airport looked like about 10 years ago, was like this is abandoned. And now it's far from that. And the new fuel tanks speak to that. But we also contracted a new fixed base operator, the FBO guy. And we have a contract with them that expires at some point where we start to collect a little income from the fuel. But at this point, how are the fuel sales going there? And I know that's a difficult one because if it's a bad season, you get bad fuel sales. If it's a great, beautiful blue sky, you get more sales. Are we seeing any increased activity at the airport?
As far as exact numbers go, I don't have those, but I have seen a great increase in the amount of aircraft that are getting fueled down there. And speaking with the employees at the FBO, they keep me pretty posted on how often they order more fuel. And I would have to go back and look at the flight tracker to see if we are higher or lower than we have been over the past couple of years. So far this year, we've been tracking pretty good. But from what I've seen, there is more fuel being purchased down there at the airport than before. And it's a lot less time consuming because the pilots themselves have the ability to fuel their own aircraft. And the employees of the FBO can continue on doing what their other jobs are.
There was a line item there that I found amusing. We were paying $750 a month to check the in-ground fuel tanks. That's gone now.
Yeah.
Yes, we were paying the FBO to monitor the fuel level inside the old fuel tanks, and now that we have the new above ground ones, that's no longer required. And this is the last month, and it was just a couple of weeks. It's not the full 750.
Nice.
You still sit on that committee, right? You're the
Yeah.
liaison. I don't have any trouble with the budget. I'm assuming you don't either.
I'm good. I just want to make sure people remember we've got a long-term committed is 76,000 plus an additional 15,000. That's all of it, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
So Kelly, we need to make sure that Kathy gets this document so she knows to incorporate that into the budget.
So you need our formal approval of the budget.
Yes, sir.
Is this the right time?
Yes, sir. I've gone to the Port of Longview and got their approval. You're the second one on, that was the next available. Tomorrow I go see the City of Longview Council, and then next Tuesday I bring it for full adoption to the City of Kelso Council Chambers.
Okay. So you need signatures from all of us or from just the chairman?
Just the chairman.
Go ahead.
I move that we approve the chairman to sign the 2025 operating budget of the Southwest Regional Airport.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor. Do I have any questions or comments from the public?
There's a lady there chomping at the bit to say something.
I think she wants to speak to you.
I didn't do it.
Seeing none, I call for a vote. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Good.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you for coming by today. It was nice to have a conversation.
And don't forget old Uncle Henry Stommel.
Okay. I think that's all we had today. So if you have, here's your chance to ask him some questions before we get out of here if you want to. So other than that, we will adjourn. Thank you.